Started.
Hello, 1, 2, 3, hello.
Hello, 1, 2, 3, hello.
Hello.
Okay, that'll work.
What's up?
Okay,
Cute side.
re-rotate.
Sexy side.
Should
Do you
be
want to switch
sexy, right?
positions?
Just edit out the fat parts.
All right, so
Okay.
there you go.
Ah.
Okay, I'm supposed to mustard on this hot dog. Here we go.
Well, hello there. This is Susan Hamilton, and you're listening to the OffBeat Businesss Show. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing your valuable lunch hour with us. We love you, American Small Business. We are your resource for business expert information, representing the 80% of American small business that tend to be family-owned businesses of 9 employees or less. What does that mean? It means we're building our families while we're raising our kids, taking care of our parents. We probably have a veteran in our midst that either in our family or workspace who's bringing their A game because of the skill and the discipline from their service, or possibly they're struggling with reintegration issues after deployment. And more of us recognize that about 30% of us actually are struggling with an addict in our family or our workspace, and it's really jacking with our focus. It's difficult, friends, and we're talking to you. We represent you. We bring you things that you can get in, get out on this show and through our magazine resources. And today I have a special treat for you, because one thing we're doing wrong in American business, and I remember I always focus on what works right in American business today, and one thing we're not doing right is taking advantage of the resources around us. We're trying to do everything, Daphne.
Yes, you are.
Today I'm talking to Daphne Anderson of Always Assisting You, and we're going to talk about how important it is to make sure you've got the help that you need to get things done. So Daphne,
Yes.
craziness.
Okay.
Yes, life in business is really nuts, and you've seen a lot, because you've been around for a very, very long time assisting people
I have.
on every level of corporate business.
Yes. 25 years of executive assisting,
Wow.
and that's from C-level, so your CFOs, your CEOs, your COOs, your CMOs in the healthcare field, down to middle management marketing people, middle management people, just regular everyday people, being a team lead, a supervisor, and then that's just that level. That's not the experience that I have in human resources, which is about 23 years.
Oh, wow, wow.
18 years of payroll, 15 years of project management, 17 years of event management, oh my gosh, a little bit of real estate, and the list goes on. And
Well,
on.
that's wonderful, because, I remember the day that I woke up and I realized that I knew more about the topics that were being discussed by a panel of experts than what they were talking about.
Mhm.
And the one thing I didn't have was the guts to say anything about it. I didn't have the strength at that time. Now here I'd spent all that time in my education and my growth, but I had to learn how to speak for my business and represent what all that meant.
Mhm.
And that's a huge thing. I think people struggle with it all the time. But one thing it took is starting to give some of my projects away, because I was too busy to think about me as a business.
Yeah, a lot of people are afraid to say, I need help. They're
Right.
thinking they can do it all on their own, but then when the littlest thing falls through the crack, it's like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? And they try to scramble and do this. If you just stop and make a list of just the simplest things that you think you can't take away from your plate, and you actually can, it gets a little easier. And it gets a little easier each time that you give it to somebody else. And of course, you can't just give it to anybody. You've got to have some kind of a mesh or some kind of relationship and feel each other out. But at the same time, when you are able to give that away, you can do what it takes to get your business to grow to the next level, or get that next project done, or what have you, because you haven't worried about that small thing anymore.
It's so important. I think we end up realizing that there's different ways that we are worth money in our business, right?
Mhm.
There's $100 jobs, there's $10 jobs we're
Right.
doing, and we're spending way too much time in the types of work that really need to be going to someone else.
True.
That is important, and it's important from a training standpoint. Wouldn't you agree? They
Mhm.
need to, for somebody else to learn how to do everything your way. There's a significant advantage to a business owner to
Yes.
say, hey, and have them learn it and master it, and
Yes.
then they can focus on that income generation that's so important.
That is very, very true. Very true.
So what do you see when you're working with businesses as the biggest struggle, Daphne? What are you recognizing that, we just don't want to let go of it? What would be the biggest thing that you see?
Email management, customer service, telephone management,
Oh, wow.
and for those that coach
Mhm.
or speakers, having an assistant on hand with you when you go to speak.
Ah, very good, very good. It is, and it's a big mistake to try to manage all of that and then go try and reel in the sales, right? That's huge.
Yeah.
Yes, so we are seeing that, and it's nice to be able to address it. How long does it typically take to begin having that comfortable relationship with a new business when you take that on?
It depends on the business. If you know a little bit about what they're doing and you've read up on them and do your due diligence behind the scenes, then you make yourself a little bit more approachable. Oh, okay, well, you do know something, and let me try this out. Otherwise, it depends on what they're looking for. If they're looking for somebody that knows Word inside and out, and they just don't have the time to proof documents, edit documents, create pamphlets, SOPs, all that type of stuff, then maybe that's what you pitch to them.
I think that's one of the big things, Daphne. I think I see people struggle with SOPs.
SOPs is not the easiest thing. You have to kind of know the industry and what you're talking about. But SOPs are actually quite easy. It's just like a business plan. You don't want to do it, but it needs to be done.
Yes, it does. And what we're talking about, if you don't understand that language, but that's standards procedures. Yeah, we just having your procedures laid out. But I think it's a good idea for us to have them so we can hand them to somebody else. There's no other way to grow. There's no other way to teach somebody else how to manage that part of our business. And we'll always have to do it if we just won't write it out and describe, maybe even in video, as you know.
Video, when you're riding or you're driving, put the phone on record and speak it out. And then when you get back, you type it up. Or you give it to your VA or my team and I, at Always Assisting You, and we'll type it out for you. You know how to do the formats, the layouts. But it's something that, again, has to be done. It needs to be done. So even if you decide that you want to sell your particular business later, it can come with the SOPs. And that person, they don't have to recreate it all over. They can just go in and edit yours.
And it's interesting that you mentioned that, because I hadn't even thought about taking our conversation that direction. But American business owners, do you realize that increases the value of your business to have those already available? That is a huge plus when it comes time to evaluate your business.
Yes. I mean, and you have to go through your SOPs every so often, just like your business plan, just like your marketing plan. At least once, twice a year, you kind of want to see where have you grown, what have you slacked in, what do you have room to open up for? And when you have that room to open up for, can you give that new room to someone else, like a VA, like Always Assisting You?
Yes.
You know?
Well, and that's just it, because I like our arrangement where you've been so incredibly helpful with what we're doing, and the approach that we have is you learning how to do exactly, and you're already there. To where a team is underneath you. You are now instructing that team how to do things individually, exactly as it needs to get done. Yes. There's only one way to grow, friends, and that is if you take some of that stuff off of your plate and give it to somebody competent. And whenever I find resources like that and information like that, I always want to make sure I share it with you, because this is a time in life, it's a time in American business when we just can't afford the risk of, it's too easy to lose money, it's too easy to go out of business. I mean, right now, we are under so much regulation, and we have to be paying attention to so many things that we've got to know how to work smarter.
Smarter and bring back good customer service.
Oh, tell us a little bit about customer service.
Customer service is just the simple please and thank yous. Thank you for coming in. Recognizing somebody when they come into your store, when they come into your site. There's so many ways to do it virtually now. If they go to your site, there's a little pop-up bar that can come up there. Hello, if you have any questions, type here. That's customer service. When if you have a brick and mortar, if someone leaves, thank you for coming in. When someone comes in, you greet them. It's so hard to get good customer service anymore because you're like, well, it's okay. It's not okay, because that bad customer service is bad word of mouth.
It's simple as a smile.
It is.
It's as simple, and you just don't see that today. You see a missing part of that work ethic that we can bring back and really make a huge difference to our referral base, because we don't want to go visit a business like that.
Well, right, and your referrals are worked off of how you communicate with others. If you always have a frown on your face and, oh, I'm Mr. Grumpy, why would I want to refer business to you? But if I'm smiling, oh, you're great, oh, thank you. Of course, I'd love to give you more business. And then vice versa. If you're grumpy every time I see you, whether you mean to be or not, kind of shy away from you a little bit.
You and I both have families.
Yes.
We've been married a very long time,
Yes.
and we know a thing or two about what it means to be grumpy.
Uh-huh.
Because we're tired,
Yes.
right? And like you said, a lot of times you don't even know when the grumpy factor is coming in.
That's true.
And when you catch yourself feeling a little, what is it? What does it tend to be?
My eyes kind of roll around.
Tired. Me too.
You just get that slump look and slump feel on you. But then you have to realize, you know what? I can't walk around like that all the time. That's not really what the problem is. If I need an extra hour of sleep, then hey,
get an extra hour of sleep.
But other than that, okay, let's go. Keep moving.
You do what you got to do.
That's what we do.
But that's true, and it's but recognizing it means that if I know I'm too tired to do something right, maybe it's time to reschedule or to do things a little bit differently, so we have the energy we need to really provide that customer service. And so tell me what Always Assisting You does to help somebody in the customer service area.
One of our biggest ways to help customer service areas is going to be telephone management.
Okay. Talk a little bit about that because, especially when it comes to sales, but you're talking about just the calls in. A lot of times those issues with this, that phone gets really heavy. Sometimes that phone can be so heavy, we just won't pick it up and do what we need to do. And it's just really silly. Tell us a little bit about how you alleviate that kind of pressure.
My team and I are friendly. Regardless of what we've got going on personally or even in the office, when the phone rings, it's time for us to work. So we pick it up and we're smiling. It's like, hello, how can we help you? State your business or however we've agreed to answer your lines. And then we're always with pen and paper handy. So we're always jotting notes down. So that way, one biggest thing that I've always heard, why did I have to repeat that? Did you not get it? We don't want you to have to say that to us. So we're always writing things down. We're always jotting down the notes. So at the end of the call, we're summarizing it. So if I understand correctly, blah, 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 X, Y, Z. How would you like to resolve this? Because for some people, it's just a simple, well, I just wanted you to know. Okay, well, I appreciate that. We'll take that into advisement. I'll let the upper management know, what have you going on. If it's something a little bit more that we're unable to just say, yes, we can resolve that, we get back to you. But there's a thing. We actually get back to you.
Nice.
We don't just say, okay, well, we'll be in contact with you in a few days. A few days is 3 days, or max. And we'll get back to you usually within 2 to 3. We try to make it a day before you think, oh, they forgot all about me. Because then the negativity starts in, and that's bad for all businesses combined.
Right. That quick response time is a big deal.
It is.
Interesting, I noticed on my Facebook page lately, they're starting to measure your response time on your Facebook page. Have you caught that?
Yes.
I mean, it is huge.
It is huge because, again, the customer service is going down quickly. And no one needs that. No one needs that at all, so.
Well, that's exciting, and I'm really thrilled to see how you're taking on these projects and how you're alleviating that stress and pressure. Because if we don't start working better, right, or working smarter, it takes away from our time with our family. It takes away from the time that we can get ourselves involved in the community and do those things that we need to do. Because there's stuff we want to do, isn't there, Daphne?
Oh, yes.
There's stuff.
Oh, yes.
I don't want to work all the time.
No.
I want to enjoy my life in business, and that gets harder and harder to do. Right. I want to enjoy my husband.
Yes.
I want to be able to get out and play with my grandkids. I want to do that stuff, and we can't do it when everything bleeds into the weekend. And I think, in my opinion, that's a good gauge. If your work is bleeding into the weekend, it's probably time for you to be considering an assistant and finding out how you can start diverting some of those tasks. And like Daphne said, consider writing all those things down. I think that's wise advice.
It helps.
So are you enjoying Daphne as much as I am? Are you learning about and maybe exploring this for yourself, what it might look like to work with a virtual assistant? Friends, you're going to hear from some of our sponsors when we get back. We're going to talk a little bit more with Daphne and find out some of the key areas that we might be missing out on by trying to do it all ourselves. It's quite possible that someone else can do it actually better. It is possible. So listen to some of our sponsors. You're listening to the OffBeat Business Show. We'll be right back with Daphne Anderson.
Sounds good. Good levels. You sound comfortable.
Thank you.
You need to catch your breath. You want some water? You quick. You look like that already. You still got another 12, 13 minutes to go. It's okay.
I know. I
only
try not
12.
to look at the time, but okay.
It's
I
only
know.
12.
My future VA.
Well, great.
Make sure you give me your contact information.
I sure have it ready. I sure
I'm
do.
getting so busy, I'm gonna need some help.
Well, that's awesome. We're always assisting you. Love my name. Love my name.
Okay.
Ready to rock and roll?
We'll talk a little bit about that and choosing the name. That's kind of fun. Seriously.
You don't know the story then, huh?
Mm.
Ready?
You want to go there?
I'm fine with it.
All right.
This is PG or rated R?
Okay.
I'll keep it PG.
PG-13.
Oh, okay. I'll keep it E, educational.
All right. Let's lace these sneakers.
All righty then. And we're back. This is Susan Hamilton. You're listening to the OffBeat Businesss Show. Thank you so much for sharing your valuable lunch hour with us. I'm talking with Daphne Anderson of Always Assisting You. And when we went to break, we laughed a little bit about how cute her name is. Daphne, spell your name for our audience.
Always assisting you. Capital ALWAYS, capital ASSISTING,
Ah, I got it.
capital U.
Not you. You. Just
Yes.
the letter U.
And then an exclamation point at the end.
Exclamation point. And what
Yes.
color is it?
The letters are pink.
Pink. Pink. Always assisting you. I think it's cute. But I also think it makes sense because every time that we're talking and sharing what it is we're doing, it's your name encapsulates exactly what you're doing. So how'd you come up with that name?
Well, the short educational PG-13 infancy rating is that I was laid off.
Yeah.
And a month before being laid off, I was sick. And my boys were sick. And while you're trying to nurse them to health,
Mm-hmm.
I was also a coordinator with our children's division and our women's ministry at church. But that work doesn't stop. So they're still sending me work to do. And I'm like, okay. So I'm doing this, again, virtually from home, sending that back out to them. And whom one day everyone will meet and see in the world. My now 8-year-old was like, Mommy, why are you always working? Why are you always assisting them? And it said, ding, ding, ding. Mommy's always assisting you. Hence my name, always assisting you. But I wanted it to be a little different. I didn't want the Y-O-U. It just seemed so long and it didn't look cute. So I put the U and the exclamation point.
Got to have some personal style to that
Of
name.
course.
Yes, you do.
Of course.
So I love it. And I've noticed how many times that's the natural sentence. Well, I'm always assisting you.
I am.
I'm always assisting
I mean,
you.
whether I'm, doing email management for you, or if I'm handling your phones for you, if I'm personally assisting you as you're speaking and coaching other people, or if you're giving a speech or a seminar and I'm in the background typing up the notes for you, or if I'm taking the pictures in the background, or if I'm recording you, or whatever I'm doing, at the end of the day, I'm always assisting you.
Yes, you are. You know, when I first met you, you were doing some event planning work.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was pretty cool for a lady in this area, Stephanie Franco,
Yes.
who kicks some serious butt. She's just
Yes.
started a new 501c3, but she's a mover and shaker, a young lady with a small child. I believe he's still an infant. Isn't he like 16 months? A young
16,
one.
18 months.
Yeah, he's about the same age as my grandkids. And anyway, she's just really rocking, and you have been assisting her with her events. She puts on events constantly.
She does. And I'm always usually one of the front lines that you see at the registration tables.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you come in, one of the first people you're going to meet is me. And I try to keep it bubbly and hello and free
Oh, I
and
liked
letting
you
you know
immediately. Yeah.
when you come in, if you get this from me,
Mhm.
when you get in there to the seminar or whatever she's having, it's going to be over the top, even bigger than I am, which is kind of hard to beat sometimes. Because I usually have my hair out and it's big old fro, and
She's
it's
got some
like,
hair.
yes, I do have me some hair, as they say in Texas.
Well, that's fun. That's fun. So that's really awesome that you've got the type of experience. So many people don't. So many people that are doing VA work today, they just are not well versed in that. And one of the things I think that brings to the table is that ability to communicate through management lines and through team lines, because that is your history and you understand how to do that.
Yes.
I also think that your background in payroll and HR is interesting to me, because when I look at what's going on in American business, I see that as a huge, we shouldn't be doing that. We should not be doing that. We should have a specialist in this area. I mean, that takes a lot to stay current on it, doesn't it?
It does.
Yes.
It's a lot of work. It's little rules changing here and there, and you can't say that when you interview people. Did you know that? But I'm a small business. It doesn't matter. Small business, big business, there's certain things you can't ask. There's certain questions that, unless it is truly to the business, to the position, you can't ask those things.
Can you
it's
give
frowned
us
upon.
a couple of things that we're not
you can't
allowed
ask
to
me
ask?
if I'm married.
I can't ask you if you're
No.
married.
Not unless it absolutely pertains to that position.
Okay.
You can't ask me how many children I have,
Oh, wow.
or do I have children? And you can't reroute it to where, well, when your oldest goes to college, how old, or, when about will that be?
I can't manipulate
No.
Hmm.
No. You can't call me sweetie and honey during interviews either. And you can't sit there and put your hand on my shoulder as we talk. What seems to be known things, some people get so relaxed in interviews, they kind of slip. But then the interviewee feels as though that they have to answer those questions, otherwise they're deemed not a fit for the position. So then they answer it anyway, as opposed to standing up and say, oh, I don't think that's an appropriate question. And sometimes it's a test to ask, do you know, especially if you're going for an HR position. If the interviewer asks you a question that you're not supposed to be answering or not supposed to be knowing, do you stop them and say, I'm sorry? Or do you go in and roll with the answer?
That's interesting that you're very knowledgeable in this area. Do you do any training for small businesses? Do you help them understand HR?
I do.
Wonderful, wonderful. So what's the size business that you really enjoy working with for those types of services?
For those type of services, I would say usually 50 employees or less,
Okay.
because it's so small that their turnover is not going to be high, and so they want to keep their people. So they're going to want to learn and know what it takes to make them happy. And then if they decide to grow, then they already have the foundation set.
So what about the businesses about 9 employees or less? I mean, is that pretty standard?
That is.
Awesome. Because I don't think that we know it. I think we got a lot of family businesses that haven't had to grow up in that environment, haven't had to have
Right.
HR training, and we don't really consider those things, especially when we're branching out beyond our family.
And that's when you have to, even though when you have it family, you have to keep it family, but you have to keep it business. You have to keep it
Very
professional.
tricky. Very tricky.
And it's tricky sometimes because, she's only an hour late, but I knew she went to go take my granddaughter to the doctor. But you have to set those levels of expectations, because if they were to ever leave the family business and go work in corporate America,
Right.
those answers aren't going to fly.
Are you saying training them not inappropriately is not really loving them? It's
I'm
not,
saying
because
that
they're
we need
not
to change a
ready.
few things.
We're not ready. We need to make sure that we're taking really good care of our people so that they are prepared for whatever challenges or scenarios that they're going to find, to the best of our ability.
And train them young.
Yeah.
I say train them young. We have an 8-year-old that assists in my company,
Yeah.
which is my son. And when he's late to come downstairs to work, your pay is docked. And he looks at me like I'm crazy. But when you get your paycheck at the end of the week, you see where it's docked because you were 10 minutes late.
Yeah.
I got to train them young, because when I'm not your boss and you go to someone else,
Mhm.
they could do the same thing. But I need you to be knowledgeable to know, okay, well, mommy was in HR forever. She's not going to play this. We're not going to play this.
It's just easy to really take those areas for granted. But those are skills that are lacking today.
Mhm.
They are. Finding people that show up on time. I would wager to bet most of you struggle with that, getting your people to show up on time. That's a small thing, but it's a huge thing.
Especially
and it costs
family.
so much in time and money and productivity.
It does.
Jiminy crickets. So what's a good accountability tool besides docking pay? Is there anything preventative measure we can look at?
You can, I don't want to say demote them, but you can take them down off big projects.
Okay.
You can explain to them that it's just not feasible, that if you're always going to be late, that this big project is one that you need to manage.
How many times should this infraction happen before we're addressing
3
it?
strikes, you're out.
3 strikes, you're out. Yeah.
I mean, I don't like baseball, but I understand that much. 3 strikes, you're out. None of that 12 innings and all that.
You were
3 strikes.
telling me that your history isn't in Texas.
No.
No, where are you from?
New York.
Woo! So
I
you
get
can
excited.
so you can tell people enough's enough.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. New York, tough skin. We're known to be rude people.
You're
I'm not rude. I'm smileable.
Yeah.
But it takes a lot in HR, because I love the terminating people. I love the disciplinary actions. But you say it with a smile. Okay, you've got about one more time to do that, and then guess what? You've got to go.
Enough of that.
Yeah, that's it. So,
We just need to. We need to understand that. We need to embrace it. We got to get tough in these areas. I think, because that'll just make us better. It'll just make us better. A lot of those reasons that people are working on the weekends and going into their personal time and spending their whole meal time talking about business and working on projects and sitting on their cell phones that whole time. I mean, that all chalks up to the productivity during the week. And did
Correct.
we all show up? And did we do our tasks at hand? And
Right.
did we manage that? So you've got some history with payroll as well.
yes,
And so why are people still doing their own payroll?
they think it's cheaper. It's
Oh.
easier.
Yeah?
And because nowadays we're living in the media world, in the social world, in the app world.
Yeah.
So there's always an app for that.
Yeah.
I mean, there's always an app, something that'll take you to another level that'll give you the answers. And even if that is true, you don't necessarily have to do it, because when you're doing the payroll and if you've missed a pay or you've got to fix a pay, that's taken away from the productivity that you could be doing on something else. You know, taking that phone call or answering that email or just having that meeting. You know, you've got to bring in more business in order to pay. You can't do that if you're steady on payroll.
That's true. That's true. And I've seen also the discipline in a lot of small businesses is not to have a time for payroll.
True.
That a lot of times in family business, payroll is whenever somebody decides
That they
it's
wanna
time
get
to
around
hit
to
up
do it.
payroll. And that's a struggle. What's your recommendation for companies that are still behaving like that?
Always assisting you.
I'll tell you what, for family businesses, if you are dealing with this issue and you give this to someone else, it takes it off of you. That pressure isn't on you anymore. And that is so, so smart. If this is an area where you haven't had the heart to say, you're taking up all my time with HR issues and payroll issues, if you haven't had the heart, give it to somebody else who does, who can take care of it, and take that off of yourself so you can get your life back. Get your life back so you can get back involved in the community like we need you. Friends, I hope you've enjoyed Daphne Anderson with Always Assisting You. You're going to be able to find all of her contact information under this video and on our website. Daphne, how can they find you?
They can find me through alwaysassisting.com. They can find me at Daphne at alwaysassistingyou.com. DAPHNE. They can find me on Facebook, Twitter, and what's the other? Instagram. Oh my goodness gracious me.
So, and do you like them to call you?
You can call me at 469-223-0363.
Wonderful. Thank you for being here today and sharing your expertise with our audience and helping them
Thank you.
just open up their mind and elevate their experience. Friends, you'll find this information and even more. You'll be able to find our lineup, our replays, our magazine, and even download our app at offbeatbusiness.com. I invite you to do that. Till next time, this is Susan Hamilton. You've been listening to the Offbeat Business Show.
Your New York saved that.